What if success wasn't random, but followed a set of unspoken rules anyone can use? This audiobook will teach you 15 proven principles that high achievers live by, no matter their background. Which of these rules will change your life first? Chapter 1. Take full ownership. No excuses, no blame. Success begins where excuses end. Own your time, your decisions, and your outcomes, even the failures. The most successful people in the world share one fundamental trait that separates them from everyone else. They take complete ownership of their lives. Not partial ownership, not conditional ownership. Complete, unwavering, radical ownership of everything that happens to them, around them, and because of them. This isn't about willpower or self-control in isolation. It's about understanding that the best rewards in life come to those who can resist immediate temptation for greater future benefit. Successful people have internalized this principle and apply it consistently across all areas of their lives. They invest money instead of spending it on immediate pleasures. They build skills through deliberate practice instead of seeking quick competency shortcuts. They nurture relationships through consistent care instead of transactional interactions. They build businesses through sustainable growth instead of get-rich-quick schemes. The patience paradox. Paradoxically, thinking long-term often accelerates your progress toward goal. When you're not pressured by artificial deadlines or desperate for immediate results, you make better decisions. You choose strategies based on their long-term effectiveness rather than their immediate gratification potential. This patience allows for deeper learning, more thoughtful planning, and better resource allocation. You can invest in capabilities that might not pay, and just a mindset shift. It's a complete rewiring of how you interact with reality. Most people live their lives as passengers, constantly explaining why things happen to them. Successful people live as pilots, understanding that they control the aircraft of their destiny. The excuse epidemic. We live in a culture of excuses. It's easier to blame the economy, your boss, your upbringing, your circumstances, or your bad luck, than it is to look in the mirror and ask, what could I have done differently? But here's the brutal truth. Every excuse you make is a decision to stay exactly where you are. When you blame external factors for your situation, you give away your power. You become a victim of circumstances rather than the architect of your future. Successful people understand this deeply. They know that even when bad things happen, and they will, the only thing that matters is their response. Consider the story of Oprah Winfrey, who was born into poverty, faced abuse and encountered countless obstacles that could have derailed her life. Instead of using these circumstances as excuses, she took ownership of her future. She didn't deny the challenges existed, but she refused to let them define her possibilities. The psychology of ownership. Taking ownership does something profound to your psychology. It shifts you from a reactive state to a proactive state. When you accept responsibility for your outcomes, you simultaneously accept the power to change them. This isn't about self-blame or guilt. It's about empowerment. The moment you say, I am responsible for my results, you open up a world of possibilities. If you're responsible, that means you can do something about it. If external forces are responsible, you're helpless. Which position would you rather operate from? Research in psychology consistently shows that people with an internal locus of control, those who believe they control their outcomes, are more successful, happier, and more resilient than those with an external locus of control. This isn't coincidence, it's causation. Ownership in practice. Taking ownership means several specific things in your daily life. First, it means owning your time. Stop saying you don't have time for important things. You have 24 hours, just like everyone else. The question is, how you choose to use them. If you're not working on your goals, own that choice. If you're spending hours on social media instead of skill development, own that choice. Second, it means owning your decisions. Every choice you make, from what you eat for breakfast to what career you pursue, is yours. When those decisions lead to outcomes you don't like, resist the urge to blame circumstances. Ask instead, what can I learn from this? How can I decide better next time? Third, it means owning your reactions. You can't control what happens to you, but you absolutely control how you respond. Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor, wrote that between stimulus and response lies choice, and in that choice lies your freedom and growth. The ownership advantage. When you take complete ownership, several powerful things happen. You become solution-focused instead of problem-focused. Instead of dwelling on what's wrong, you immediately start thinking about what you can do to make it right. This shift in focus is magnetic to opportunities and solutions. You develop resilience faster. When you see setbacks as feedback rather than failures, you bounce back quicker and stronger. Each challenge becomes data for improvement rather than evidence of your limitations. You attract better opportunities. People want to work with, invest in, and support individuals who take responsibility. Nobody wants to partner with someone who blames others when things go wrong. You accelerate your learning curve. When you own your mistakes, you study them. When you blame others, you learn nothing. Ownership turns every failure into education. The daily practice of ownership. Making ownership a habit requires daily practice. Start each morning by taking responsibility for the day ahead. Instead of thinking, "I hope today goes well," think, "I will make today productive and meaningful." When things go wrong during your day, and they will catch yourself before you externalize the problem, ask these 3 questions. What did I contribute to this situation? What could I have done differently? What will I do differently next time? End each day with an ownership review. What went well that you can take credit for? What didn't go well that you can take responsibility for? This isn't about beating yourself up. It's about maintaining the mindset that you're the primary actor in your life story. Beyond personal ownership. As you advance in your career and build wealth, ownership extends beyond personal responsibility to organizational and community responsibility. The most successful leaders don't just own their individual outcomes, they own the outcomes of their teams, their companies, and their communities. This expanded ownership creates exponential impact. When you take responsibility for developing others, for creating value in the marketplace, for solving bigger problems, your success multiplies. You become someone others depend on and look up to, which opens doors that individual achievement alone cannot. The compound effect of ownership. Ownership compounds over time. Each day you take responsibility, you build the muscle of accountability. Each time you own a mistake and learn from it, you become more capable and confident. Each decision you own, good or bad, teaches you something valuable about judgment and execution. After months and years of this practice, you develop what successful people call ownership gravity, a natural tendency to take responsibility that attracts success to you like a magnet. People trust you with bigger opportunities because they know you won't make excuses if things go wrong. They know you'll figure it out. This is why taking full ownership isn't just about personal development. It's about building the foundation for everything else in this book. Every other rule for success builds on this fundamental principle. You can't manage your time effectively if you don't own your time. You can't build discipline if you don't own your choices. You can't create wealth if you don't own your results. Success begins where excuses end. Today, decide that every outcome in your life, past, present, and future, is your responsibility. Not because you're to blame for everything that happens, but because you're empowered to respond to everything that happens. The world is full of people making excuses. Be the person who makes things happen instead. Chapter 2. Define your North Star. You can't hit a target you can't see. Successful people define crystal clear goals and shape everything else around them. Navigation without a compass leads to wandering. Achievement without clear goals leads to the same result: endless motion with no meaningful direction. The most successful people in every field share one critical characteristic. They know exactly where they're going, and they've defined their destination with precision that would make a GPS engineer proud. Your North Star isn't just a goal, it's your unwavering point of reference that guides every decision, prioritizes every action, and gives meaning to every sacrifice. Without it, you're not pursuing success, you're just staying busy. The clarity crisis. Most people live in a fog of vague intentions. They want to be successful, make more money, be happy, or make a difference. These aren't goals, they're wishes. The difference between successful people and everyone else often comes down to this. Successful people get specific about what they want, while others remain comfortable with generalities. This lack of clarity isn't just inconvenient, it's devastating to your potential. When you don't know where you're going, every path seems right, and no path seems urgent. You'll work hard but not necessarily on the right things. You'll make progress but not necessarily toward anything meaningful. Warren Buffett famously said that without clear priorities, everything seems important, which means nothing is truly important. This is why defining your North Star isn't just helpful. It's essential for breaking through the noise and focusing your energy where it matters most. The anatomy of a North Star. A true North Star has several specific characteristics that separate it from ordinary goals. It's specific enough to measure. I want to be wealthy is not a North Star. I want to build a net worth of $10 million by age 45 through real estate investments and business ownership is getting closer. The more specific you can be, the more your subconscious can work to make it happen. It's meaningful enough to sustain you. Your North Star must connect to something deeper than external validation or material accumulation. It needs to resonate with your values, your vision of who you want to become, and the impact you want to have. Without this deeper meaning, you'll lose motivation when things get difficult, and they will get difficult. It's challenging enough to transform you. A goal that doesn't require you to grow isn't worthy of your time. Your North Star should be big enough that achieving it would fundamentally change who you are, how you think, and what you're capable of. It should make you slightly uncomfortable when you think about it. It's time-bound enough to create urgency. Dreams without deadlines remain dreams. Your North Star needs a timeline that creates healthy pressure and prevents endless procrastination. This deadline should be aggressive enough to push you, but realistic enough to be achievable with concentrated effort. The process of defining your North Star requires honest self-examination and strategic thinking. This isn't a process you complete in one sitting. It's an ongoing refinement that becomes clearer as you learn more about yourself and what's possible. Start by examining your natural talents and genuine interests. What activities make you lose track of time? What problems do you find yourself naturally drawn to solve? What achievements in your past gave you the deepest satisfaction? Your North Star should align with your natural strengths and authentic interests, not what you think you should want. Next, consider your values and what kind of legacy you want to create. If you achieved everything you set out to accomplish, what would you want people to say about your life and impact? How do you want to be remembered? Your North Star should be consistent with these deeper values. Then, analyze the intersection of your talents, interests, and market opportunities. The most powerful North Stars exist at the crossroads of what you're good at, what you enjoy, and what the world will reward. This intersection is where you can create the most value and build sustainable success. The power of written goals. Harvard Business School studied their MBA graduates and found that the 3% who had written specific goals earned 10 times more than the other 97% combined. This isn't because writing has magical powers, it's because the act of writing forces clarity and clarity drives action. When you write down your North Star, you engage different parts of your brain than when you just think about it. Writing activates your reticular activating system, the part of your brain that filters information and opportunities. Once you've clearly defined what you want, your brain becomes a heat-seeking missile for relevant opportunities. But don't just write it once and forget it. Successful people review their goals regularly, daily, weekly, and monthly. This regular review keeps your North Star front and center in your consciousness, ensuring that daily decisions align with long-term objectives, shaping everything around your North Star. Once you've defined your North Star, everything else in your life should organize around it. This is where most people fail. They set goals but continue living as if nothing has changed. Your North Star should influence your schedule, your relationships, your learning priorities, and your resource allocation. If your North Star involves building a business, your calendar should reflect that priority. You should be spending significant time on business development, not just thinking about it between other obligations. If financial independence is your target, your spending habits should align with that goal, not contradict. This alignment requires saying no to many good opportunities so you can say yes to the great ones that move you toward your North Star. Every successful person has stories of things they didn't do, events they didn't attend, and opportunities they passed up because they weren't aligned with their primary objective. The dynamic nature of North Stars. Your North Star should be stable enough to provide consistent direction but flexible enough to evolve as you grow and learn. What seemed impossible 5 years ago might now seem inevitable. What felt meaningful at one stage of life might feel less important at another. The key is to maintain the discipline of regular review and honest assessment. Is your current North Star still challenging you to grow? Does it still align with your values and vision? Are you still excited about the person you would become in pursuit of it? This isn't about changing directions every time you face difficulty. That's the opposite of what we're discussing. It's about maintaining the integrity of your guidance system so it continues to serve your highest potential. Multiple North Stars and priority systems. As you advance in life, you may have multiple North Stars across different areas: career, relationships, health, contribution. The key is understanding how these relate to each other and which takes priority when they conflict. Many successful people organize their goals in hierarchies. They have a primary North Star that takes precedence and secondary goals that support or complement it. This system prevents the paralysis that comes from having too many competing priorities. The compound effect of clarity. Clear goals create a compound effect that goes far beyond the specific achievement. When you know exactly what you want, you make better decisions faster. You recognize opportunities more quickly. You attract people and resources that align with your objectives. You develop the skills and knowledge most relevant to your success. Most importantly, you develop the confidence that comes from knowing you're living with intention rather than just reacting to circumstances. This confidence becomes a magnet for even greater opportunities and achievement. Your North Star isn't just about reaching a destination. It's about becoming the kind of person who can reach that destination. The goals you set and pursue shape your character, your capabilities, and your contribution to the world. In a world full of distractions and competing demands, your North Star becomes your superpower. It's the difference between being busy and being productive, between working hard and working smart, between achieving success and achieving significance. Define your North Star with the precision of an architect and the passion of an artist. Make it specific enough to measure, meaningful enough to sustain you, and challenging enough to transform you. Then shape everything else in your life around that guiding light. The clarity you create today will compound into the success you achieve tomorrow. Chapter 3. Protect your time like your life depends on it. Because it does. The world's most successful people guard their time with ruthless discipline and say no often. Time is the only resource you can never get back. Money can be earned again. Relationships can be rebuilt. Skills can be developed. But time spent is gone forever. This fundamental truth separates successful people from everyone else. They understand that time is not just valuable. It's the source of all value. Yet most people treat time like it's unlimited. They say yes to every request, attend every meeting, and fill their calendars with activities that don't move them closer to their goals. They're generous with their time but stingy with their money, when the equation should be exactly reversed. The most successful people flip this script entirely. They protect their time with the intensity of a bodyguard protecting a world leader. They understand that every yes to one thing is a no to something else, and they make these trade-offs deliberately rather than accidentally. The illusion of productivity. Modern culture confuses motion with progress and busyness with productivity. We live in a world that celebrates the hustle, glorifies the grind, and measures worth by how packed your calendar is. This is not just wrong, it's destructive to real achievement. Being busy is easy. Anyone can fill their day with activities, meetings, and obligations. Being productive, creating real value and making meaningful progress toward important goals, is much harder and much rarer. It requires the discipline to distinguish between what feels urgent and what's actually important. Successful people understand that productivity isn't about doing more things. It's about doing the right things. They focus on results, not activities. They optimize for outcomes, not effort. This mindset shift changes everything about how they approach their time. The Pareto principle of time. The 80-20 rule applies to time management more than perhaps any other area of life. Roughly 80% of your results come from 20% of your activities. This means that most of what you do doesn't significantly impact your success, while a small portion of your activities creates the majority of your progress. Successful people become obsessed with identifying and protecting that crucial 20%. They audit their time ruthlessly, tracking where their hours go and correlating those hours with results. They discover which activities generate the highest return on time invested, and they organize their lives around maximizing those activities. This analysis often reveals uncomfortable truths. You might discover that checking email, attending certain meetings, or engaging in particular social activities consume significant time, but produces minimal results. The temptation is to justify these activities because they feel productive or necessary. Successful people resist this temptation and make hard choices. The art of strategic no, Warren Buffett said. The difference between successful people and really successful people is that really successful people say no to almost everything. This isn't about being antisocial or uncooperative. It's about protecting your most valuable resource for your most important priorities. Every successful person develops a sophisticated filtering system for opportunities, requests, and obligations. They have clear criteria for what gets their time and what doesn't. These criteria connect directly to their North Star goals and long-term vision. Saying no becomes easier when you remember that every yes to something unimportant is a no to something important. When you say yes to a random social obligation, you're saying no to time you could spend developing skills, building relationships that matter, or working on projects that advance your goals. The key is learning to say no gracefully and diplomatically. You don't need to be rude or burn bridges. You can decline opportunities while maintaining relationships and leaving doors open for the future. Often, a simple "I'm not able to commit the time this deserves right now" is sufficient. Time blocking and calendar architecture. Successful people don't just manage their time, they architect it. They design their days and weeks with the same intentionality that an architect designs a building. Every hour has a purpose, and that purpose connects to their larger objectives. Time blocking is one of the most powerful techniques for protecting your time. Instead of keeping a to-do list, you assign specific time blocks to specific activities. This forces you to be realistic about what you can accomplish and prevents tasks from expanding to fill available time. When you block time for important activities, you're not just scheduling them, you're protecting them. That time becomes unavailable for less important requests and distractions. Your calendar becomes a fortress around your priorities. The most successful people block time for their most important work during their peak energy hours. They don't schedule meetings during their best thinking time or save important projects for when they're mentally exhausted. They understand their natural rhythms and optimize their schedules accordingly. The energy-time connection, time management and energy management are inseparable. You might have hours available, but if you lack the mental, physical, or emotional energy to use those hours effectively, the time is essentially wasted. Successful people pay as much attention to managing their energy as they do to managing their time. They understand which activities energize them and which drain them. They sequence their days to maximize energy for high-impact activities and minimize energy waste on low-value tasks. This might mean exercising in the morning to boost energy for the day, grouping similar tasks to maintain focus, or scheduling demanding work when mental energy is highest. It definitely means avoiding energy vampires. People, activities, and environments that drain motivation and focus. Technology as tool or tyrant. Technology can be your greatest ally or your worst enemy in protecting your time. Used wisely, it can automate routine tasks, streamline communication, and amplify your productivity. Used carelessly, it becomes a constant source of distraction and time waste. Successful people have a sophisticated relationship with technology. They use it as a tool to achieve their goals, not as entertainment or a way to fill empty moments. They configure their devices to minimize distractions rather than maximize engagement. This means turning off non-essential notifications, batching communication instead of responding instantly, and using apps and systems that support their priorities rather than undermine them. They treat their attention like the valuable resource it is and protect it from the constant assault of digital distractions. The compound effect of protected time. When you consistently protect time for your most important activities, the compound effect is extraordinary. Skills that would take years to develop through scattered effort can be mastered in months through concentrated focus. Projects that seem impossible become inevitable when you dedicate consistent, protected time to them. This protection creates momentum that becomes self-reinforcing. As you see results from your focused efforts, it becomes easier to say no to distractions. As your priorities produce success, it becomes clearer what deserves your time and what doesn't. Deep work and shallow work. Cal Newport's research distinguishes between deep work, cognitively demanding activities performed in a state of distraction-free concentration, and shallow work, logistical-style tasks performed while distracted. Deep work produces the most valuable results, but it's also the most vulnerable to elimination. Successful people organize their lives to maximize deep work and minimize shallow work. They batch shallow tasks to prevent them from fragmenting their attention throughout the day. They create environments and systems that support sustained concentration on their most important work. This might mean having specific locations for deep work, using tools to block digital distractions, or establishing communication protocols that prevent constant interruption. The goal is creating islands of intensive focus in an ocean of potential distractions. Delegation and team building. As you become more successful, protecting your time increasingly means building systems and teams that can handle activities that don't require your unique skills and attention. This is one of the most challenging transitions for achievers, moving from doing everything yourself to orchestrating others to achieve results. Effective delegation isn't just about giving tasks to others, it's about creating systems and developing people so that important work happens, whether or not you're directly involved. This requires investment in training, systems, and relationships, but it's the only way to scale your impact beyond your personal time limits. The time audit practice. Protecting your time starts with understanding where your time currently goes. Most people have no accurate idea how they spend their hours, which makes it impossible to optimize their time use. Successful people regularly audit their time, tracking their activities and correlating them with results. This isn't about obsessive monitoring, it's about data-driven decision-making. When you know which activities produce the best results per hour invested, you can structure your life to maximize those activities. This audit often reveals surprising insights. Activities that feel productive might generate minimal results, while activities that seem less important might be crucial to your success. The key is making these assessments based on data rather than assumptions. Your time is your life. How you spend your hours determines what you achieve, who you become, and what you contribute to the world. Protecting this precious resource isn't selfish. It's strategic. It's the foundation that makes everything else possible. Guard your time like the irreplaceable treasure it is. Say no to everything that doesn't align with your most important goals. Create systems and boundaries that protect your focus. Invest in activities and relationships that compound over time. The world will always demand more of your time than you have to give. The difference between success and mediocrity is deciding which demands you'll meet and which you'll politely decline. Your future self is counting on the time protection choices you make today. Here's how winners show up on the days they don't feel like it. Motivation is like the weather, unpredictable, temporary, and completely outside your control. It arrives without warning and disappears just as quickly, leaving you stranded if you've built your success strategy around its presence. Discipline, on the other hand, is like gravity, constant, reliable, and powerful enough to move mountains when applied consistently, over time. The most successful people understand this fundamental distinction. They don't wait to feel motivated to take important actions. They've built systems and habits that carry them forward regardless of how they feel in any given moment. They show up when they're excited, and they show up when they're exhausted. They perform when they're confident, and they perform when they're scared. This isn't about willpower or mental toughness, though those qualities help. It's about understanding human psychology and building systems that work with your nature rather than against it. It's about creating momentum that becomes self-sustaining, regardless of temporary emotional states. The motivation myth. Our culture sells a dangerous lie that successful people are constantly motivated, always excited about their work, and naturally driven to achieve their goals. This mythology creates unrealistic expectations and explains why so many people quit when the initial excitement of a new goal wears off. The truth is that successful people feel unmotivated just as often as everyone else. They have days when they don't want to get out of bed, moments when their goals seem impossible, and periods when they question everything they're working toward. The difference is that they've learned to act in spite of these feelings, not because of their absence. Motivation is an emotion, and emotions are temporary by nature. Building your success strategy around maintaining constant motivation is like building a house on sand. It might work for a while, but it will eventually collapse when the foundation shifts. Discipline, by contrast, is a system. It's a set of practices, habits, and commitments that operate independently of your emotional state. When motivation is high, discipline amplifies it. When motivation is low, discipline carries you forward anyway. The neuroscience of habit formation. Understanding how habits form in your brain is crucial to building sustainable discipline. When you repeat an action consistently, your brain creates neural pathways that make that action easier and more automatic over time. Eventually, the action requires minimal conscious effort or decision-making. This is why successful people focus on building systems rather than relying on decision-making in the moment. They automate their most important behaviors, so they don't have to negotiate with themselves every day about whether to take action. The basal ganglia, the part of your brain responsible for habit formation, doesn't distinguish between good habits and bad habits. It simply seeks to automate repetitive behaviors to conserve mental energy. This is why bad habits feel so automatic and why good habits can become just as effortless with consistent practice. The discipline stack. Successful people don't try to build discipline in every area of their life simultaneously. Instead, they use what researchers call keystone habits, core practices that naturally trigger other positive behaviors and create cascading improvements across multiple areas. A morning routine is often a keystone habit. When you establish a consistent way to start your day, it creates momentum that carries into other areas. Exercise, another powerful keystone habit that often leads to better nutrition, improved sleep, and increased productivity. The key is starting with one area where you can build consistent success, then using that foundation to expand discipline into other areas. Each victory builds confidence and capability, making the next area easier to master. The 2-day rule. One of the most practical discipline strategies is the 2-day rule. Never allow yourself to skip the same important activity 2 days in a row. This rule acknowledges that you're human and will occasionally miss your target, while ensuring that temporary setbacks don't become permanent abandonment. If you miss your workout on Monday, you must do it on Tuesday. If you skip your reading time on Wednesday, you can't skip it again on Thursday. This prevents the all-or-nothing thinking that destroys so many people's progress. The 2-day rule maintains momentum while allowing for life's inevitable interruption. It keeps you connected to your important practices without creating the perfectionism that leads to giving up entirely when you make a mistake. Environmental design. Your environment shapes your behavior more than your willpower does. Successful people understand this and design their surroundings to make good choices easier and bad choices harder. They don't rely on self-control in the moment. They engineer situations where discipline becomes the path of least resistance. If you want to read more, put books in visible locations throughout your home and keep your phone in another room. If you want to eat better, stock your kitchen with healthy foods and remove tempting processed options. If you want to exercise consistently, lay out your workout clothes the night before and choose a gym that's convenient to your daily routine. This isn't about eliminating all temptation. That's impossible. It's about tilting the odds in favor of your long-term goals rather than against them. Small environmental changes can produce dramatic behavioral improvements over time. The identity shift. Perhaps the most powerful aspect of discipline is how it shapes your identity. When you consistently act in alignment with your goals, you begin to see yourself differently. You're not someone who's trying to get in shape, you're someone who exercises regularly. You're not someone who wants to be successful, you're someone who does the work required for success. This identity shift creates a positive feedback loop. As your self-image aligns with your desired behaviors, those behaviors become more natural and sustainable. You're not forcing yourself to act against your nature, you're acting in accordance with who you've become. James Clear calls this identity-based habits, and it's one of the most effective approaches to long-term behavior change. Instead of focusing on what you want to achieve, you focus on who you want to become, then take actions that reinforce that identity. The discipline compound effect. Discipline compounds in ways that motivation never could. Each day you follow through on your commitments, you build evidence that you're someone who can be trusted to keep commitments. Each time you do something despite not feeling like it, you expand your capacity to do difficult things. This compound effect extends beyond individual actions to your overall capability and confidence. As you prove to yourself that you can maintain discipline in one area, you become more willing to attempt discipline in other areas. Success breeds success, and discipline breeds more discipline. Over time, this creates what psychologists call self-efficacy, the belief that you can successfully perform behaviors necessary to produce specific outcomes. People with high self-efficacy attempt more challenging goals and persist longer in the face of obstacles. Systematic recovery and renewal. Sustainable discipline isn't about grinding relentlessly without rest. It's about creating systems that include recovery and renewal as essential components. Just as athletes schedule rest days to prevent injury and maintain peak performance, successful people build recovery into their discipline systems. This might mean taking a complete day off each week, scheduling regular vacations, or simply building buffer time into daily schedules. The goal isn't to maintain maximum intensity indefinitely. It's to maintain optimal intensity sustainably. Recovery isn't the opposite of discipline. It's part of a disciplined approach to long-term success. It prevents burnout, maintains motivation, and ensures that you can continue performing at high levels over years and decades rather than just weeks and months. The social dimension of discipline. While discipline is ultimately an individual practice, it's much easier to maintain within supportive social systems. Successful people often create or join communities that reinforce their commitments and make their desired behaviors more socially normal. This might mean working out with a training partner, joining a mastermind group focused on business goals, or simply spending more time with people who embody the discipline you want to develop. The people around you create social pressure that can either support or undermine your discipline efforts. Measuring what matters. You can't manage what you don't measure, and discipline is no exception. Successful people track their key behaviors and results, not to judge themselves harshly, but to maintain awareness and make data-driven adjustments to their systems. This tracking doesn't need to be elaborate or time-consuming. Simple metrics that connect to your most important goals can provide powerful feedback and motivation. The key is choosing measures that reflect the behaviors within your control, rather than outcomes that depend on external factors. The long game of discipline. The greatest rewards of discipline often don't appear for months or years. This delayed gratification is precisely why most people struggle with discipline. The costs are immediate and certain, while the benefits are distant and uncertain. Successful people learn to find satisfaction in the process itself, rather than waiting for external validation. They celebrate the act of showing up, not just the results of showing up. They develop what researchers call process pride. Satisfaction derived from executing their systems, regardless of immediate outcomes. This process orientation sustains discipline through inevitable plateaus and setbacks. When you find meaning in the daily practice of discipline, you don't need constant external reinforcement to maintain your commitments. Motivation will fail you. It will disappear when you need it most, arrive when you need it least, and generally prove unreliable as a foundation for important goals. Discipline, however, will carry you through every challenge, every setback, and every moment when you don't feel like continuing. Build systems, not just goals. Create habits, not just intentions. Design your environment to support your commitments. Measure your progress and adjust your approach based on results, not feelings. The person who masters discipline masters their destiny. Everything else, success, wealth, influence, legacy, flows from this fundamental capability. Show up, especially when you don't feel like it. That's when discipline matters most, and that's when empires are built. Chapter 5. Play the long game. Success isn't a sprint. Learn to think in decades, not days, and outlast those who burn out chasing shortcuts. The most dangerous lie sold to ambitious people today is that success should come fast. Social media feeds us a constant stream of overnight millionaires, viral sensations, and instant transformations, but here's what they don't show you. The decade of preparation that preceded the breakthrough, the countless failures that built the foundation, and the boring, repetitive work that nobody wants to document. Every truly successful person understands a fundamental truth that separates them from the masses. Compound growth beats instant gratification every single time. While others are chasing the next shiny object, the next get-rich-quick scheme, or the next magic bullet, winners are playing an entirely different game. They're thinking in decades, not days. Jeff Bezos didn't build Amazon overnight. When he started the company in 1994, he told investors they might not see profits for years. Wall Street called him crazy. Competitors laughed. But Bezos understood something they didn't. He was building infrastructure for the future of commerce, not just selling books online. Every decision was made through the lens of long-term dominance, not quarterly earnings. This is the mindset shift that changes everything. When you extend your timeline, you make fundamentally different choices. You invest in systems instead of tactics. You build relationships instead of just making transactions. You develop skills instead of just looking for opportunities. You think like an owner, not an employee. The long game requires a specific type of patience, not passive waiting. but active patience. You're not sitting around hoping things will work out. You're consistently taking actions today that compound into massive results tomorrow. Every day, you're making deposits into your future self's bank account. Consider Warren Buffett's approach to investing. He doesn't buy stocks. He buys pieces of businesses he plans to own for decades. While day traders are getting excited about minute-by-minute price movements, Buffett is thinking about what these companies will look like in 2040. This perspective allows him to ignore short-term volatility and focus on long-term fundamentals. The same principle applies to building your career, your business, or your personal brand. While others are optimizing for this month's results, you're building something that will be stronger next decade. This means saying no to opportunities that look good today, but don't align with your long-term vision. It means investing time and money in things that won't pay off for years. One of the hardest parts of playing the long game is dealing with the opinions of people who are playing short-term games. They'll question your decisions. They'll point to their quick wins and ask why you're taking the slow route. They'll make you feel like you're missing out on immediate opportunities. This is where mental toughness becomes crucial. You need the conviction to stick to your strategy when everyone else is zigging and zagging. You need the confidence to trust your process even when the results aren't immediately visible. Most importantly, you need the wisdom to distinguish between being patient and being passive. Playing the long game doesn't mean being slow to act. It means being strategic about where you put your energy. Amazon moved incredibly fast in areas that mattered for long-term success: customer experience, logistics, technology infrastructure, but they ignored short-term profit pressures that would have forced them to optimize for the wrong metrics. This is why successful people often seem to have overnight success after years of invisibility. They've been building their foundation while others were chasing headlines. When their moment comes, they have the infrastructure to capitalize on it massively. The compound effect works in every area of life. Reading 30 minutes a day doesn't seem like much, but over a decade it's over 1,800 hours of learning, equivalent to a master's degree worth of specialized knowledge. Working out consistently for years builds not just physical strength, but the mental discipline that carries over into business and relationships. Your daily habits are either compounding in your favor or against you. The question isn't whether compound growth is real, it's whether you're patient and disciplined enough to let it work for you. Most people quit too early because they don't see immediate results. They plant seeds and expect fruit the next week. But here's what the long game really gives you: optionality. When you build something durable, you create choices for your future self. You're not desperate for the next opportunity because you've built a platform that generates opportunities. You're not worried about short-term setbacks because you've built systems that can weather storms. The wealthy understand this deeply. They don't just make money. They build wealth-generating assets. They don't just build businesses. They build business systems. They don't just accumulate knowledge. They develop wisdom. Everything they do is designed to be more valuable tomorrow than it is today. This requires sacrificing some immediate pleasures for long-term gains. While others are spending their evenings watching Netflix, you might be building skill. While others are buying depreciating assets to impress people, you might be investing in appreciating assets. While others are networking for immediate benefits, you might be building relationships for mutual long-term value. The long game also means learning to love the process, not just the outcomes. If you're only motivated by end results, you'll burn out before you get there. But if you can find satisfaction in the daily work of improvement, in the gradual building of something meaningful, then time becomes your ally instead of your enemy. This is why successful people often seem calm and confident even during challenging times. They're not just hoping things will work out. They know they will, because they've built systems and capabilities that make success inevitable over time. They've played the long game long enough to trust the process. The irony is that by committing to the long game, you often achieve short-term success faster. When you're not desperate for immediate results, you make better decisions. When you're building for the long term, you attract higher quality opportunities and relationships. When you think in decades, you solve problems others can't see yet. Start today by asking yourself, what would I do differently if I knew I couldn't fail and had unlimited time? Then reverse engineer that vision into daily actions you can take for the next 10 years. That's how you play the long game. That's how you build something that lasts. Saking, Chapter 6. Build relentless self-belief. Doubt kills more dreams than failure ever will. This chapter helps you program your identity for confidence and resilience. Self-belief isn't about positive thinking or motivational mantras. It's about building an unshakable foundation of evidence that you can handle whatever comes your way. It's about programming your identity at such a deep level that external circumstances can't shake your core confidence. Most people have it backwards. They wait for success to feel confident, when confidence is actually the prerequisite for success. The most successful people I've studied share one common trait. They believe in their ability to figure things out, even when they don't know how. This isn't arrogance or delusion. It's a carefully cultivated mindset built on a foundation of evidence and reinforced through consistent action. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team. Instead of accepting this as evidence that he wasn't good enough, he used it as fuel to prove the coach wrong. He didn't just believe he could be better, he believed he would be better, and he acted accordingly. Every early morning practice, every extra hour in the gym, every sacrifice was building evidence for his eventual greatness. This is the difference between hope and belief. Hope is passive. It's wishing things will work out. Belief is active. It's knowing they will work out, because you'll make them work out. Hope says, maybe I can do this. Belief says, I will figure out how to do this. Building relentless self-belief starts with understanding where confidence actually comes from. It doesn't come from affirmations or visualization, though those can be helpful. It comes from competence. The more evidence you have of your ability to overcome challenges, solve problems, and achieve goals, the more unshakable your confidence becomes. This is why successful people often seem to have confidence in areas where they have no experience. They've built such strong evidence of their general problem-solving abilities that they trust themselves to learn whatever they need to learn. They've proven to themselves over and over that they can figure things out. The key is starting small and building momentum. Every time you set a goal and achieve it, you're making a deposit in your confidence account. Every time you face a fear and push through it, you're proving to yourself that you're braver than you thought. Every time you fail and recover, you're building resilience that serves you in bigger challenges. But here's where most people go wrong. They wait for big victories to build confidence. They think they need to start their dream business or land their dream job before they can feel confident. But confidence is built in the daily moments when no one is watching. It's built when you choose to work out instead of sleeping in. It's built when you read instead of scrolling social media. It's built when you have the difficult conversation instead of avoiding it. Sarah Blakely, founder of Spanx, built her confidence through a daily practice her father taught her. Every dinner, he would ask his children what they had failed at that day. If they hadn't failed at anything, he was disappointed. This taught her that failure wasn't something to fear. It was evidence that she was pushing her limits. By the time she was ready to start Spanx, she had decades of evidence that she could handle failure and uncertainty. Your internal dialogue is either building or destroying your confidence daily. Most people have a harsh inner critic that focuses on mistakes, limitations, and reasons why things won't work. Successful people have learned to flip this script. They talk to themselves like they would talk to their best friend, with compassion, encouragement, and constructive feedback. This doesn't mean being unrealistic or ignoring problems. It means reframing challenges as opportunities to grow rather than threats to your identity. Instead of "I'm not good at this," try "I'm not good at this yet." Instead, "I always mess up," try "I'm learning from this mistake." Instead of "I can't handle this," try "This is challenging and I'm figuring it out." Physical confidence feeds mental confidence. How you carry yourself, how you breathe, how you move, all of this sends signals to your brain about how you should feel. Successful people understand this mind-body connection and use it strategically. They stand tall, make eye contact, speak clearly, and take up space. These aren't just external displays of confidence, they're internal generators of confidence. Visualization plays a role, but not the way most people think. It's not about imagining perfect outcomes. It's about mentally rehearsing how you'll handle challenges. Olympic athletes don't just visualize winning gold medals. They visualize falling and getting back up, making mistakes and recovering, dealing with unexpected situations. This mental preparation builds confidence in your ability to handle whatever actually happens. The stories you tell yourself about your past shape your confidence for the future. Most people focus on their failures and use them as evidence for why they can't succeed. Successful people reframe their failures as proof of their resilience and learning ability. They see every setback as building strength for bigger challenges. Confidence is also contagious. When you genuinely believe in yourself, others start believing in you too. This creates opportunities, partnerships, and support that accelerate your success, but it has to be genuine. People can sense fake confidence from a mile away. Real confidence comes from internal certainty, not external validation. One of the most powerful confidence builders is keeping promises to yourself. Every time you say you're going to do something and then do it, you prove to yourself that you're trustworthy. Every time you set a small goal and achieve it, you build evidence that you can set bigger goals and achieve those too. This is why successful people are often obsessive about seemingly small commitments. They understand that self-trust is the foundation of all achievement. The relationship between confidence and competence is cyclical. Confidence gives you the courage to attempt difficult things, which builds competence, which builds more confidence. The key is getting this cycle started, even if you have to begin with very small steps. Surround yourself with evidence of your capabilities. Keep a success journal where you write down daily wins, no matter how small. Save emails from people thanking you for your help. Take photos of projects you've completed. Create a physical environment that reminds you of your strengths and achievements. Your brain needs this evidence to build unshakable self-belief. Remember that confidence isn't the absence of fear, it's the presence of action despite fear. Confident people feel scared, nervous, and uncertain just like everyone else. The difference is, they act anyway. They've trained themselves to move forward even when they don't feel ready, because they know that readiness is something you create through action, not something you wait for. Building relentless self-belief is a daily practice, not a one-time achievement. It requires consistent action, honest self-reflection, and patience with the process. But once you build it, it becomes the foundation for everything else you want to achieve. When you truly believe in yourself, the only question becomes not whether you'll succeed, but how quickly you'll figure out the path to get there. Chapter 7. Never stop learning. The most successful people are obsessed with growth. Learn to make reading, studying, and evolving part of your daily rhythm. In a world where information becomes obsolete faster than ever, your ability to learn and adapt isn't just an advantage, it's survival. The half-life of skills is shrinking rapidly. What made you successful 5 years ago might be irrelevant today. The only sustainable competitive advantage is your capacity to learn faster than the world is changing. Bill Gates reads 50 books per year. Warren Buffett spends 80% of his day reading. Oprah Winfrey built an empire partly by sharing what she learned through books. These aren't coincidences. They're examples of people who understand that learning isn't something you stop doing after school. It's something you accelerate once you realize how much you don't know. The most successful people aren't necessarily the smartest people in the room. They're the people who are most committed to getting smarter. They've developed systems for continuous learning that compound over time. While others are consuming entertainment, they're consuming education. While others are seeking confirmation of what they already know, they're seeking challenges to what they think they know. This obsession with learning serves multiple purposes. First, it keeps you relevant in a rapidly changing world. Second, it gives you a broader perspective that helps you spot opportunities others miss. Third, it builds mental flexibility that helps you adapt when circumstances change. Fourth, it provides a continuous source of new ideas and insights that can be applied to your current challenges. But here's the critical distinction. Successful people don't just consume information, they convert it into wisdom and action. They're not knowledge collectors, they're knowledge appliers. They read with purpose, study with intention, and implement with urgency. The learning habits of high achievers follow specific patterns. They read broadly to develop pattern recognition across different fields. They study deeply in their area of expertise to maintain their edge. They actively seek out information that challenges their existing beliefs. They surround themselves with people who are smarter than they are in specific areas. Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett's business partner, calls this developing a lattice work of mental models. Instead of just accumulating facts, you're building frameworks for understanding how the world works. You're learning principles that can be applied across different situations. You're developing the ability to think across disciplines and connect ideas that others keep in separate mental boxes. This requires being intentional about what you learn and how you learn it. Random consumption of information isn't enough. You need a learning strategy that aligns with your goals and feeds your growth in specific areas. Some learning should be practical and immediately applicable. Some should be theoretical and broadly applicable. Some should challenge your assumptions and expand your worldview. The most effective learners are also the most effective teachers. They don't just absorb information, they process it, organize it, and share it with others. This forces them to think more deeply about what they've learned and identify the most important insights. Teaching others also creates accountability for continued learning and helps build a network of other learners. Reading remains the foundation of most successful people's learning systems, but it's not the only method. They listen to podcasts during commutes, watch educational videos during downtime, attend conferences and seminars, seek out mentors and coaches, participate in mastermind groups, and actively seek feedback from customers, colleagues, and competitors. The key is making learning automatic rather than optional. Successful people build learning into their daily routines, so it happens consistently regardless of how busy or motivated they feel. They might read for 30 minutes every morning, listen to educational podcasts during workouts, or dedicate 1 hour each week to studying something completely outside their expertise. This systematic approach to learning creates compound returns over time. Each book, podcast, or conversation builds on previous knowledge. Patterns start emerging across different fields. Insights from one area begin solving problems in another area. What seemed like separate pieces of information begin forming a coherent understanding of how to create value in the world. But learning without application is just entertainment. The most successful learners are also the most aggressive implementers. They don't wait until they've learned everything about a topic before starting to apply what they know. They experiment with new ideas immediately, get feedback, and adjust their understanding based on real-world results. This creates a powerful feedback loop. Learning leads to action, action leads to results, results lead to feedback, feedback leads to refined understanding leads to better action. People who master this cycle accelerate their growth exponentially compared to those who separate learning from doing. One of the biggest barriers to continuous learning is the illusion of knowledge. The more you know about a topic, the easier it is to assume you know everything about it. Successful people fight this tendency by actively seeking out dissenting opinions, challenging their own assumptions, and remaining curious about areas where they think they're already experts. They also understand that learning requires unlearning. Sometimes you have to let go of outdated knowledge, ineffective strategies, or limiting beliefs before you can absorb new information. This requires intellectual humility, the willingness to admit when you're wrong, and change your mind when presented with better evidence. The digital age has made learning more accessible than ever, but it's also made it more overwhelming. The challenge isn't finding information, it's filtering through the noise to find valuable insights. Successful learners develop systems for identifying high-quality sources, fact-checking information, and distinguishing between opinion and evidence. They also understand the importance of learning from failure, both their own and others. Every setback contains lessons that can prevent future mistakes. Every mistake reveals gaps in knowledge or flaws in thinking. Instead of just moving on from failures, they analyze them systematically to extract maximum learning value. Another crucial aspect of continuous learning is staying curious about people who disagree with you or approach problems differently than you do. Instead of dismissing different perspectives, successful people study them to understand the underlying reasoning. Even when they don't change their minds, they develop a more nuanced understanding of complex issues. The compound effect of continuous learning becomes more powerful over decades. Someone who reads 1 book per month will read 80 books over 40 years, equivalent to a comprehensive graduate-level education in multiple fields. Someone who dedicates 1 hour per day to skill development will accumulate over 14,000 hours of deliberate practice over 40 years, enough to achieve mastery in multiple areas. But the benefits extend beyond just accumulating knowledge. Continuous learning keeps your mind sharp, your perspectives fresh, and your problem-solving abilities flexible. It provides a sense of growth and progress that contributes to life satisfaction. It creates opportunities for interesting conversations and meaningful connections with other learners. Most importantly, it ensures that you never become obsolete. In a world where artificial intelligence can process information faster than humans, your value comes from your ability to learn, adapt, connect disparate ideas, and apply knowledge creatively to solve novel problems. These are skills that can only be developed through consistent, intentional learning over time. The question isn't whether you have time to learn, it's whether you can afford not to. In a rapidly changing world, standing still is moving backward. The choice is simple: become a lifelong learner, or become irrelevant. Successful people made this choice long ago, and they reinforce it with action every single day. Chapter 8. Execute fast. Refine later. Winners don't wait for perfect conditions. They move quickly, break things, and adjust as they go. Perfectionism is the enemy of progress. While the masses are planning, researching, and waiting for the perfect moment, successful people are already 3 iterations into solving the problem. They understand a fundamental truth that paralyzes most people. You can't steer a parked car. You have to be moving to make adjustments. The most successful entrepreneurs, leaders, and innovators share a bias toward action. They'd rather be wrong and learning than right and waiting. They know that market feedback beats internal analysis every time. They understand that speed often matters more than perfection, especially in the early stages of any endeavor. Reid Hoffman, founder of LinkedIn, famously said, "If you're not embarrassed by the first version of your product, you've launched too late." This isn't about being sloppy or unprepared. It's about understanding that real-world feedback is infinitely more valuable than theoretical planning. You can't predict how people will actually use your product, respond to your message, or react to your idea until you put it in front of them. This mindset requires a fundamental shift in how you think about failure and iteration. Most people see failure as something to avoid at all costs. Successful people see failure as information, data points that help them refine their approach. They fail fast, fail cheap, and fail forward. Every failure brings them closer to the solution that works. Amazon's approach exemplifies this philosophy. They launch products knowing they're not perfect, gather data on how customers actually use them, and then rapidly iterate based on real usage patterns. They'd rather have a working prototype in customers' hands than a perfect product that never ships. This approach has allowed them to innovate faster than competitors who spend months perfecting products in isolation. The execute fast mentality isn't about being reckless. It's about being strategically experimental. You minimize the downside of failure while maximizing the upside of learning. You test assumptions with small experiments before making big bets. You validate demand before building supply. You get feedback before investing heavily in any direction. This requires developing comfort with uncertainty and incompleteness. Most people are paralyzed by not knowing all the answers before they start. Successful people understand that the answers only become clear through action. They're comfortable starting with 70% of the information and figuring out the remaining 30% along the way. One of the biggest advantages of executing fast is that it forces you to focus on what matters most. When you have unlimited time to plan, you can spend weeks debating minor details. When you have to ship something next week, you quickly identify the core features that are absolutely essential. Constraints breed creativity and force prioritization. This approach also builds momentum, which is one of the most undervalued forces in achievement. When you're constantly moving, constantly testing, constantly learning, you maintain energy and motivation. When you're stuck in planning mode, it's easy to lose enthusiasm and momentum. Action creates energy, planning depletes it. The key to executing fast without making costly mistakes is to think in terms of reversible and irreversible decisions. Amazon's Jeff Bezos categorizes decisions as either one-way doors, irreversible, or two-way doors, reversible. For two-way door decisions, you can afford to move quickly because you can always reverse course. For one-way door decisions, you should take more time and gather more information. Most decisions are actually two-way doors, but people treat them like one-way doors. Most experiments can be undone, most tests can be stopped, most initiatives can be pivoted. This realization gives you permission to move faster on the majority of decisions you face. The execute fast approach also compounds over time. While your competitors are still planning their first version, you're already learning from your third version. While they're trying to predict what customers want, you already know, because you've tested it. While they're debating strategy, you're refining tactics based on real data. This creates an information advantage that becomes increasingly difficult for competitors to overcome. You're not just ahead in terms of product development, you're ahead in terms of market understanding. You know which features customers actually use, which messages resonate, which problems are worth solving, and which opportunities are worth pursuing. But executing fast requires building the right infrastructure and mindset. You need systems that allow for rapid iteration. You need a team that's comfortable with uncertainty. You need metrics that give you quick feedback on what's working and what isn't. You need the ability to change direction quickly when data suggests a different approach. This is where many organizations struggle. They're built for stability and predictability, not for speed and experimentation. They have layers of approval processes, committee reviews, and risk assessments that slow down decision-making. While these processes might prevent some mistakes, they often prevent learning and innovation. Successful individuals and organizations create cultures of intelligent experimentation. They encourage people to test ideas quickly and cheaply. They celebrate learning from failure as much as success. They measure speed of learning as much as success rate. They reward people for taking intelligent risks, not just for playing it safe. The digital age has made fast execution easier than ever. You can test business ideas with landing pages and ad campaigns before building products. You can validate demand with crowdfunding before manufacturing. You can get customer feedback through surveys and interviews before investing in development. The tools for rapid experimentation have never been more accessible. But the biggest barrier to fast execution isn't external, it's internal. It's the fear of being judged for launching something imperfect. It's the desire to have all the answers before starting. It's the misconception that successful people got everything right on their first try. The truth is that every successful product, business or initiative you admire, through multiple iterations. The iPhone wasn't perfect when it launched. It didn't even have copy and paste functionality. Facebook started as a simple directory for college students. Google started as a research project with a basic search interface. What made these successful wasn't perfection, it was the willingness to start and the discipline to keep improving. This doesn't mean you should ignore quality or ship broken products. It means you should ship the minimum viable version that provides value and allows you to learn. You should gather real data before making assumptions about what people want. You should let market feedback guide your development rather than internal speculation. The execute fast mindset also applies to personal development. Instead of spending months planning the perfect workout routine, start exercising 3 times this week and adjust based on how you feel. Instead of researching every possible investment option, start investing small amounts and learn as you go. Instead of planning the perfect business, start serving customers and build based on their feedback. Speed becomes a competitive advantage when everyone else is moving slowly. While others are overthinking, you're learning. While others are planning, you're adjusting. While others are preparing, you're progressing. This doesn't mean being careless. It means being strategically aggressive about turning ideas into reality. The goal isn't to get everything right immediately. The goal is to get started correctly and improve continuously. Perfect is the enemy of done, and done is the beginning of better. Successful people understand this intuitively and act accordingly. They execute fast, learn quickly, and refine relentlessly. That's how they stay ahead while others are still getting ready. Counter. Chapter 9. Master emotional control. You can't control outcomes, but you can control reactions. Learn how the elite stay calm under pressure and never act out of impulse. Emotional control separates professionals from amateurs, leaders from followers, and winners from everyone else. It's not about suppressing emotions or pretending they don't exist. It's about understanding that emotions are information, not instructions. Your feelings provide data about situations, but they shouldn't dictate your actions. The most successful people have learned to create space between stimulus and response. When something happens, a crisis, a setback, a criticism, an opportunity, they don't react immediately. They pause, process, and then respond strategically. This pause is where wisdom lives. It's where good decisions are made and bad ones are avoided. This skill becomes more crucial as the stakes get higher. When you're managing a team, running a business, or handling significant responsibilities, your emotional reactions don't just affect you, they affect everyone around you. Your panic becomes their panic. Your confidence becomes their confidence. Your ability to stay calm under pressure determines whether your team rises to challenges or crumbles under them. Consider how professional athletes handle pressure. The best performers don't feel less pressure than others. They've learned to perform despite it. They have systems for managing their emotional state that allow them to execute their skills when it matters most. They understand that emotions are temporary, but performance records are permanent. Tom Brady's legendary composure in high-pressure situations wasn't natural talent. It was developed skill. He practiced not just physical techniques, but mental techniques for staying calm and focused when everything was on the line. He trained his mind the same way he trained his body, understanding that mental game determines whether physical skills can be executed effectively. The foundation of emotional control is self-awareness. You can't manage what you don't recognize. Most people are unconscious of their emotional patterns. They react automatically to triggers without understanding why. Successful people study their own emotional patterns like scientists studying data. They identify their triggers, understand their default reactions, and develop strategies for responding differently. This requires honest self-reflection and often external feedback. You might think you handle stress well until you see yourself on video during a crisis. You might believe you're patient until someone points out how your tone changes when you're under pressure. Building emotional control starts with accurate assessment of your current emotional patterns. The next step is understanding the physiology of emotion. Emotions create physical sensations, increased heart rate, shallow breathing, muscle tension, changes in vocal tone. These physical changes happen before conscious thoughts, which is why emotional reactions feel automatic. But you can learn to recognize these physical signals and use them as early warning systems. When you feel your heart rate increasing or your breathing becoming shallow, that's your cue to pause before reacting. Professional negotiators, emergency responders, and military personnel are trained to use breathing techniques to manage their physiological responses to stress. Deep, controlled breathing activates the parasympathetic nervous system and helps restore rational thinking. Successful people also reframe challenging situations to maintain emotional equilibrium. Instead of seeing obstacles as threats, they see them as problems to solve. Instead of viewing criticism as attacks, they see them as information to consider. Instead of experiencing setbacks as failures, they see them as learning opportunities. This isn't positive thinking. It's strategic thinking. The language you use to describe situations affects how you feel about them. If you tell yourself this is a disaster, you'll feel panicked. If you tell yourself this is a challenge, you'll feel motivated. If you tell yourself this is impossible, you'll feel defeated. If you tell yourself this is difficult but solvable, you'll feel determined. Successful people are very intentional about the words they use to frame situations. Emotional control also means choosing your battles wisely. Not every situation deserves an emotional investment. Not every criticism requires a response. Not every conflict needs to be won. Sometimes the most powerful response is no response. Sometimes the best way to handle a situation is to ignore it completely and focus your energy on more important matters. This selective engagement protects your emotional energy for situations that actually matter. If you're constantly getting upset about minor issues, you won't have the emotional resources to handle major challenges effectively. Successful people have learned to distinguish between inconveniences and true problems, between temporary setbacks and permanent threats. One of the most powerful aspects of emotional control is its effect on others. When you remain calm during chaos, you become an anchor for everyone around you. People look to you for guidance and stability. Your emotional state influences their emotional state, which affects their performance and decision-making. This gives you tremendous influence over group dynamics and outcomes. Leaders understand this responsibility deeply. They know that their emotional reactions can either escalate or de-escalate situations. They can inspire confidence or create panic. They can encourage rational thinking or trigger emotional reaction. This awareness makes them very intentional about how they express emotions publicly, especially during challenging times. But emotional control doesn't mean emotional suppression. Emotions provide valuable information about situations and relationships. Fear might indicate real dangers that need attention. Anger might reveal important boundaries that have been crossed. Excitement might identify opportunities worth pursuing. The key is learning to process emotional information without being controlled by emotional reactions. This requires developing emotional vocabulary and processing skills. Many people only have a few words to describe their emotional states. Good, bad, stressed, fine. Successful people develop nuanced understanding of their emotional landscape. They can distinguish between frustration and disappointment, between concern and anxiety, between excitement and nervousness. This precision helps them respond more appropriately to different situations. They also develop healthy outlets for processing emotion. Some use physical exercise to burn off stress and frustration. Others use journaling to work through complex feelings. Some use meditation to create mental space and clarity. Others use trusted advisors or coaches to gain perspective on emotionally charged situations. The specific method matters less than having consistent practices for emotional processing. Another crucial aspect of emotional control is managing expectations. Many emotional reactions come from gaps between expectations and reality. If you expect everything to go smoothly, you'll be emotionally disrupted by normal challenges. If you expect people to always act rationally, you'll be frustrated by normal human behavior. If you expect immediate results, you'll be disappointed by normal timelines. Successful people develop realistic expectations based on data and experience, rather than hopes and assumptions. They prepare mentally for likely challenges, delays, and complications. This doesn't make them pessimistic, it makes them resilient. When problems arise, they're not emotionally surprised, because they expected some level of difficulty. The compound effect of emotional control builds over time. Each situation where you choose response over reaction builds your confidence in your ability to handle future challenges. Each time you remain calm under pressure, you strengthen your reputation as someone who can be trusted in difficult situations. Each time you process emotions effectively, you improve your decision-making capabilities. This creates a positive cycle where emotional control leads to better outcomes, which builds confidence, which makes emotional control easier in future situations. People who master this skill early in their careers have a significant advantage in leadership positions, high-stakes negotiations, and crisis management. Remember that emotional control is a skill, not a personality trait. It can be developed through practice and systems. It requires understanding your patterns, developing better responses, and consistently choosing strategy over impulse. The payoff, in terms of better decisions, stronger relationships, and greater influence, makes this one of the most valuable investments you can make in yourself. Chapter 10. Build leverage. Don't trade time for money. From systems to teams to smart investments, the wealthy multiply time and output. Here's how to build leverage early. The fundamental difference between the wealthy and everyone else isn't how hard they work, it's how they work. While most people trade time for money in a linear relationship, wealthy people build systems that generate money without their direct time investment. They understand that there are only 24 hours in a day, but there's no limit to how much value those hours can generate if properly leveraged. Leverage is the great multiplier of human effort. It allows you to achieve more with the same input or achieve the same results with less input. Without leverage, your income is directly tied to your hours worked. With leverage, your income is tied to the value your systems create, which can operate independently of your time investment. There are 4 main types of leverage that successful people systematically build: people, systems, money, and media. Each type multiplies your efforts in different ways, and the most successful people combine all 4 to create exponential results rather than linear growth. People leverage is the oldest form of multiplication. When you hire employees, contractors, or collaborators, you're essentially buying back time and multiplying your capabilities. Every hour they work effectively is an hour you don't have to work while still capturing the value of that work. But most people think about hiring wrong. They hire to reduce their workload rather than to increase their capacity. The wealthy think differently about people leverage. They don't just hire people to do tasks they don't want to do. They hire people who are better at specific tasks than they are. This allows them to focus on their highest value activities, while ensuring everything else gets done at a higher level than they could achieve themselves. Consider how successful entrepreneurs approach delegation. They don't just delegate the tasks they dislike, they delegate tasks that others can do, 80% as well as they can, even if they enjoy those tasks. This frees them to focus on the tasks that only they can do, or that they can do significantly better than anyone else. This strategic delegation is what allows them to scale beyond their personal capacity. Systems leverage involves creating processes, technologies, and structures that can operate without your direct involvement. This might mean building software that serves customers automatically, creating training programs that onboard new employees without your time, or developing standard operating procedures that ensure consistent results regardless of who executes them. The power of systems leverage compounds over time. Once you've built an effective system, it can handle increasing volume without proportional increases in your time investment. A well-designed website can serve one customer or 1 million customers with minimal difference in your effort. A documented process can train 1 employee or 100 employees with similar efficiency. Amazon exemplifies systems leverage at scale. Their fulfillment centers, recommendation algorithms, and customer service systems handle millions of transactions with minimal human intervention per transaction. What took Jeff Bezos and a handful of employees to accomplish in the early days now happens automatically through systems that operate 24/7 without direct oversight. Money leverage, also known as financial leverage, involves using other people's money to generate returns. This includes everything from business loans and mortgages to investment capital and credit facilities. The key insight is that if you can generate a higher return on borrowed money than the cost of borrowing it, you can accelerate your wealth building significantly. Real estate investors understand this intuitively. Instead of saving $500,000 to buy a property with cash, they might put down $100,000 and borrow $400,000. If the property appreciates or generates rental income, they're earning returns on the full $500,000 while only investing $100,000 of their own money. This allows them to control 5 times more assets with the same amount of capital. The same principle applies to business. Many successful entrepreneurs use investor capital, business loans, or revenue-based financing to grow faster than they could with just their own money. They're essentially paying a cost of capital to accelerate their timeline and increase their ultimate returns. Media leverage is the newest and most powerful form of leverage available today. This includes social media, podcasts, YouTube channels, email lists, blogs, and any other platform that allows you to reach large audiences without proportional time investment. One piece of content can be consumed by thousands or millions of people, creating massive leverage on your time investment. Gary Vaynerchuk built a wine business by creating daily wine review videos. Each video took him 15 minutes to create, but was watched by thousands of people, effectively giving him thousands of hours of customer interaction time for 15 minutes of work. This media leverage allowed him to build brand awareness and customer relationships at a scale that would have been impossible through traditional one-on-one interactions. The most successful people today combine multiple forms of leverage. They use media leverage to build an audience, people leverage to serve that audience, systems leverage to deliver value efficiently, and money leverage to scale faster. Each type of leverage amplifies the others, creating exponential rather than additive effects. Building leverage requires thinking differently about your role and responsibilities. Instead of asking, "How can I do this faster?" you should ask, "How can this get done without me?" Instead of optimizing your personal productivity, you should optimize your system's productivity. Instead of working harder, you should work more strategically. This shift requires some upfront investment and delayed gratification. Building systems takes time before they save time. Hiring people requires training before they add value. Creating content requires consistency before it builds an audience. Using money leverage requires understanding before it generates returns. But the compound effect of these investments pays dividends for years or decades. One of the biggest mistakes people make is trying to build all types of leverage simultaneously. This usually results in doing none of them well. The most effective approach is to focus on one type of leverage at a time, build it to a sustainable level, and then add additional types. This sequential approach allows you to master each form of leverage before adding complexity. Start with systems leverage if you're early in your career. Document your processes, automate repetitive tasks, and create templates for common situations. This foundation makes it easier to delegate effectively when you're ready to add people leverage. It also makes your personal productivity much higher, giving you more resources to invest in other forms of leverage. The mindset shift required for building leverage is perhaps the most important aspect. You must stop thinking like an employee and start thinking like an owner. Employees optimize for activity and hours worked. Owners optimize for results and value created. Employees want job security, owners want scalable systems. This doesn't mean you need to start a business to build leverage. Even within employment, you can create systems that make your department more efficient, build relationships that amplify your influence, develop expertise that attracts opportunities, and invest money wisely to build wealth. The principles of leverage apply regardless of your employment status. The wealthy also understand that leverage creates risks as well as rewards. Systems can break down, people can make mistakes, borrowed money must be repaid. Content can be criticized or ignored. They manage these risks through diversification, backup systems, conservative financial management, and continuous monitoring of their leveraged activities. But they also understand that the risk of not building leverage is greater than the risk of building it poorly. Without leverage, you're trading time for money indefinitely. With leverage, you have the potential to build wealth that compounds over time and eventually provides financial freedom. The goal isn't to eliminate work from your life, it's to eliminate the linear relationship between your time and your income. When you've built sufficient leverage, you can choose to work because you enjoy it, or because it serves a purpose larger than just generating income. That's the difference between being busy and being wealthy. Start building leverage today, even if it's just documenting a process you repeat regularly, or investing a small amount of money consistently. The compound effect of leverage takes time to build, but it's impossible to build if you never start. Every successful person you admire made their success on leverage. It's time to start building yours. Chapter 11. Your circle is your future. If you want to level up, upgrade your circle. Surround yourself with people who challenge, not comfort. You become who you spend time with. This isn't motivational speaking, it's scientific fact. Your brain is constantly adapting to the environment around you, including the social environment, the conversations you have, the standards you observe, the behaviors you witness, and the expectations others have of you all shape who you become over time. Most people underestimate how profoundly their social circle influences their success. They think success is purely individual, a matter of personal determination, skill, and effort. While these factors matter, they operate within the context of social influence that can either amplify or limit their impact. Your circle doesn't just reflect your current level, it determines your future level. The most successful people are obsessive about curating their social environment. They understand that proximity is power. They know that being around high achievers raises their own standards and expectations. They actively seek out people who challenge them to grow, rather than people who comfort them where they are. This doesn't mean abandoning old friends or becoming socially calculated. It means being intentional about who you spend your time with and what kinds of relationships you invest in building. It means recognizing that some relationships serve your growth, while others serve your comfort, and that you need more of the former if you want to achieve more. Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger exemplify the power of high-quality relationships. Their partnership has lasted over 50 years and has been instrumental in both of their successes. They challenge each other's thinking, share knowledge and insights, and hold each other to higher standards. Neither would have achieved the same level of success without the other. The quality of your circle affects you in multiple ways. First, it influences your standards and expectations. When everyone around you settles for average, average feels acceptable. When everyone around you strives for excellence, anything less feels inadequate. Your social environment establishes the baseline for what's normal and acceptable in your life. Second, your circle affects your access to opportunities. Most opportunities come through relationships rather than job boards or advertisements. The people in your network know about openings, partnerships, investments, and collaborations before they become public. They can make introductions, provide recommendations, and vouch for your capabilities when opportunities arise. Third, your circle influences your thinking and decision-making. When you're surrounded by people who think differently than you do, you're exposed to new perspectives, ideas, and approaches. This cognitive diversity leads to better decisions and more creative solutions. When everyone in your circle thinks the same way you do, you're trapped in an echo chamber that limits your growth. Fourth, your circle provides accountability and support. High achievers don't just encourage each other, they hold each other accountable to their commitments and goals. They provide honest feedback when you're off track, and support when you're facing challenges. This combination of challenge and support accelerates growth in ways that neither alone can achieve. Building a high-quality circle requires being valuable to high-quality people. You can't just network your way into better relationships. You have to earn your way in through the value you provide. This means developing skills, knowledge, or resources that others find useful. It means being generous with your help before asking for help in return. The most effective approach is to focus on giving before receiving. Look for ways to help people who are ahead of you without expecting anything in return. Share valuable information, make useful introductions, offer your skills for their projects, or simply provide thoughtful insights on their challenges. This generosity builds relationships based on mutual value rather than one-sided benefit. This also means being selective about who you try to build relationships with. Not everyone who is successful is worth having in your circle. Some high achievers are toxic, unethical, or purely self-interested. Others might be successful in areas that aren't relevant to your goals. Focus on building relationships with people who share your values and contribute to your specific areas of growth. One of the most powerful ways to upgrade your circle is to join communities of high achievers. This might mean professional associations, mastermind groups, industry conferences, alumni networks, or online communities focused on growth and achievement. These environments naturally attract people who are committed to improving themselves and their results. But simply being in these environments isn't enough. You have to be an active participant. Ask thoughtful questions, share valuable insights, volunteer for leadership roles, and consistently show up with energy and enthusiasm. The people who get the most value from these communities are the ones who contribute the most value to these communities. Another strategy is to seek out mentors and advisors who have achieved what you want to achieve. This isn't about finding someone to give you all the answers. It's about finding someone who can help you think through challenges, avoid common mistakes, and see opportunities you might miss. The best mentors don't just share knowledge, they help you develop better thinking processes. Mentorship relationships work best when they're mutually beneficial. Look for ways to provide value to potential mentors, even if it's just bringing fresh perspectives, energy, or assistance with projects they care about. The most sustainable mentoring relationships are built on mutual respect and value exchange, rather than one-sided guidance. You also need to evaluate your current circle honestly. Some relationships might be holding you back without you realizing it. These aren't necessarily bad people, they might just be operating at a different level, or have different priorities than you do. Spending too much time with people who aren't growing can prevent you from growing. This doesn't mean you should abandon everyone who isn't successful or ambitious. It means being intentional about how much time and energy you invest in different relationships. You might maintain social relationships with old friends while building professional relationships with new connections. The key is ensuring that your growth-oriented relationships get sufficient time and attention. The digital age has made it easier than ever to connect with high-quality people regardless of geographic location. Social media, online communities, virtual events, and digital platforms allow you to build relationships with people anywhere in the world. This expands your potential circle far beyond your immediate physical environment. But digital relationships still require the same principles as in-person relationships. You have to provide value, be consistent in your interactions, and invest time in building genuine connections. The tools have changed, but the fundamentals of relationship building remain the same. One challenge many people face is imposter syndrome when trying to connect with high achievers. They feel like they don't belong or don't have enough to offer. This feeling is normal, but shouldn't be paralyzed. Remember that everyone started somewhere, and most successful people are willing to help others who are genuinely committed to growth and improvement. The key is approaching these relationships with humility and genuine curiosity, rather than trying to impress or oversell yourself. Focus on learning from others and contributing what you can, rather than trying to appear more successful than you are. Authenticity builds stronger relationships than pretense. Your circle also includes the content you consume and the voices you listen to regularly. The books you read, podcasts you listen to, and videos you watch are essentially adding people to your mental circle. Be as intentional about these inputs as you are about your personal relationships. Building a high-quality circle is a long-term investment that pays compound returns. The relationships you build today might not provide immediate benefits, but they often become invaluable years later, when opportunities, challenges, or transitions arise. The key is thinking long-term and being patient with the relationship-building process. Remember that upgrading your circle doesn't happen overnight. It's a gradual process of adding higher-quality relationships, while naturally spending less time in relationships that don't serve your growth. Be patient with the process, but intentional about the direction. Your future success is largely determined by the people who surround you today. If you want to achieve more, You need to be around people who expect more, think bigger, and operate at higher levels. This isn't about using people, it's about mutual elevation. When you surround yourself with people who are growing, everyone grows together. Chapter 12: Reputation is Currency. In a noisy world, trust is everything. Build a name that opens doors and outlasts setbacks. Your reputation precedes you into every room, every conversation, and every opportunity. In a world where information travels instantly, and first impressions are often formed before you even meet someone, your reputation isn't just important, it's everything. It's the compound interest of relationships, the multiplier of opportunities, and the foundation of long-term success. Most people think about reputation reactively. They worry about it when something goes wrong, or when they need something from others. Successful people think about reputation proactively. They understand that every interaction, every decision, and every communication is either building or eroding their reputation. They're intentional about the impression they leave and consistent in the value they provide. In the digital age, your reputation has both local and global components. Locally, it's what people in your immediate network think about your reliability, competence, and character. Globally, it's what the internet says about you when someone searches your name. Both matter, and both require active management. The foundation of a strong reputation is simple. Do what you say you're going to do, when you say you're going to do it, how you say you're going to do it. This sounds basic, but it's surprisingly. Most people overpromise and underdeliver, show up late, or provide work that doesn't meet expectations. Simply being reliable makes you remarkable in comparison. But reputation isn't just about meeting expectations, it's about consistently exceeding them in small ways. It's about delivering work early, instead of on time. It's about providing more value than promised. It's about anticipating needs before they're expressed. These small extras compound over time into a reputation for excellence. Warren Buffett spent decades building a reputation for integrity and wisdom in investing. This reputation allows him to access deals that others can't, attract the best management teams, and command attention when he speaks. His reputation has become one of Berkshire Hathaway's most valuable assets, worth billions of dollars in market value. Your reputation in one area affects your reputation in all areas. If you're known for being unreliable in personal commitments, people will question your reliability in professional commitments. If you're known for cutting corners in small matters, people will wonder if you cut corners in important matters. Consistency across all areas of life builds a cohesive reputation that people can trust. This is why successful people are careful about their behavior even in situations that seem inconsequential. They understand that character is revealed in small moments when people think no one is watching. They know that how you treat service workers, how you handle minor disagreements, and how you respond to stress all contribute to how others perceive you. Building a strong reputation requires time and patience. You can lose a reputation instantly, but building one takes years of consistent behavior. This is frustrating for people who want quick results. But it's also what makes reputation so valuable. Because it takes time to build, it becomes a sustainable competitive advantage that's difficult for others to replicate quickly. The most powerful reputations are built on expertise combined with character. Expertise makes people want to work with you. Character makes people want to work with you again. Many people focus on building expertise while neglecting character or vice versa. The most successful people understand that both are essential and work to develop both simultaneously. Expertise-based reputation comes from consistently delivering superior results in your field. It's about knowing more, performing better, and solving problems that others can't solve. This requires continuous learning, deliberate practice, and a commitment to staying ahead of industry trends and developments. Character-based reputation comes from how you treat people, handle conflicts, and conduct yourself under pressure. It's about being honest when honesty is difficult, keeping commitments when it's inconvenient, and treating everyone with respect, regardless of their position or ability to help you. In the age of social media, managing your reputation requires active participation in digital platforms. This doesn't mean you need to be on every platform or post constantly. It means you need to be intentional about your online presence and ensure that your digital reputation aligns with your real-world reputation. Your online presence should reflect your expertise and values. Share insights that demonstrate your knowledge. Engage in discussions that show your character, Support others in ways that reflect your generosity. Avoid controversial topics that don't relate to your professional expertise, unless you're willing to be known for those positions. One of the most powerful reputation-building strategies is becoming known for helping others succeed. When you consistently help other people achieve their goals, they become advocates for your reputation. They tell stories about your generosity, competence, and character to their network. This word-of-mouth marketing is more powerful than any advertising you could buy. This doesn't mean being a pushover or saying yes to every request. It means being strategically generous with your time, knowledge, and connections. Look for opportunities to make introductions, share insights, provide feedback, or offer assistance in ways that create meaningful value for others. Building a reputation also requires being selective about the opportunities you pursue and the people you associate with. Every project you work on, every person you partner with, and every organization you join reflects on your reputation. Successful people turn down opportunities that don't align with their desired reputation, even when those opportunities might be profitable. This selectivity becomes easier as your reputation grows. A strong reputation attracts better opportunities, which allow you to be even more selective, which strengthens your reputation further. This creates a positive feedback loop, where reputation and opportunity reinforce each other. Your reputation must be authentic to be sustainable. You can't fake expertise or character for long periods of time. Eventually, real situations will reveal who you really are and what you're truly capable of. The most effective approach is to actually become the person you want to be known as, rather than trying to appear to be that person. This means aligning your actions with your desired reputation consistently over time. If you want to be known as innovative, you need to consistently generate and implement new ideas. If you want to be known as reliable, you need to consistently meet your commitments. If you want to be known as generous, you need to consistently help others. Reputation also requires active maintenance. You can't build a good reputation and then ignore it. You need to continue demonstrating the qualities that built your reputation in the first place. You need to stay current with industry developments, maintain your relationships, and continue providing value to your network. When reputation problems arise, and they will, address them quickly and directly. Don't ignore criticism or hope problems will go away. Acknowledge mistakes, explain what you're doing to fix them, and demonstrate changed behavior. Most people are forgiving of honest mistakes if they see genuine efforts to correct them. The most valuable reputations are built around solving important problems or creating significant value. Generic reputations for being nice or smart aren't as powerful as specific reputations for solving particular types of problems or delivering specific types of results. Focus on becoming known for something specific and valuable, rather than trying to be known for everything. Your reputation will evolve throughout your career, but the foundation of trust and competence must remain constant. As you grow and change, make sure your reputation evolves intentionally rather than accidentally. Communicate changes in your focus or expertise to your network, so they understand how to think about your current capabilities. Remember that reputation is both a personal and professional asset. It affects the opportunities you receive, the people who want to work with you, the prices you can charge, and the impact you can have. Investing in your reputation is one of the highest return investments you can make in your career and life. In a world where anyone can claim anything online, verified reputation becomes increasingly valuable. The people who consistently deliver results, treat others well, and demonstrate integrity will stand out from the noise. Your reputation might be the most important asset you never see on a balance sheet, but it's often the asset that determines whether all your other assets can grow. Chapter 13. Turn pain into power. Every successful person has been through something. The difference? They used it as fuel. Learn how to do the same. Pain is not optional in life, but suffering from that pain is a choice. Every successful person you admire has faced significant challenges, setbacks, failures, or traumatic experience. What separates them from those who remain stuck isn't the absence of pain. It's their ability to transform that pain into power, purpose, and progress. The most successful people don't just overcome adversity, they use it as raw material for building something greater. They understand that pain, when processed correctly, becomes a source of strength, wisdom, and motivation that's impossible to develop any other way. They don't waste their pain, they weaponize it for good. This isn't about toxic positivity, or pretending that difficult experiences are actually blessings in disguise. Pain is real, loss is devastating, and trauma can have lasting effects. But within every painful experience lies the potential for growth, insight, and strength. that can fuel extraordinary achievement if you know how to extract it. Oprah Winfrey transformed a childhood filled with poverty, abuse, and trauma into a billion-dollar media empire built on helping others overcome their own struggles. Her pain didn't just motivate her success, it informed her purpose, shaped her message, and connected her with millions of people who shared similar experiences. Her greatest business asset came from her greatest personal challenge. The first step in turning pain into power is reframing your relationship with difficulty. Most people see challenges as things that happen to them. Successful people see challenges as things that happen for them, opportunities to develop strength, resilience, and capabilities they wouldn't develop otherwise. This shift from victim to beneficiary changes everything about how you respond to adversity. This doesn't mean being grateful for traumatic experiences or pretending they were good. It means recognizing that, since the experiences happened, you might as well extract maximum value from them. Since you paid the price of going through difficult times, you might as well collect the benefits of wisdom, strength, and perspective they can provide. The process of transformation requires honest acknowledgement of pain, rather than suppression or denial. You can't transform what you won't face. Many people try to push through difficult experiences without processing them, which prevents them from extracting the lessons and strength those experiences contain. The most successful people do the difficult work of examining their pain to understand what it taught them. This examination serves multiple purposes. First, it helps you identify patterns that might be contributing to repeated difficulties. Second, it reveals strengths and capabilities you developed while navigating challenges. Third, it uncovers insights about life, relationships, and success that can guide future decisions. Fourth, it transforms painful memories from sources of ongoing hurt into sources of ongoing strength. J.K. Rowling wrote the first Harry Potter book while struggling as a single mother, living on welfare. Her experience with depression, poverty, and rejection didn't just provide material for her writing, it gave her the determination to persist through numerous publisher rejections, and the empathy to create characters who resonate with millions of readers facing their own struggles. One of the most powerful ways to turn pain into power is by using your experience to help others facing similar challenges. When you've successfully navigated a difficult situation, you become uniquely qualified to guide others through similar situations. One of the most important aspects of turning pain into power is learning to separate your identity from your experiences. Difficult things happen to you, but they don't define who you are. You are not your trauma, your failures, or your setback. You are how you respond to these experiences and what you create from them. This separation allows you to maintain agency and choice in how you interpret and respond to difficulties. Instead of being a victim of circumstances, you become an active participant in creating meaning and value from whatever happens to you. This shift in perspective is often the difference between people who remain stuck and people who use adversity as a launching pad. The pain-to-power transformation also requires patience with the process. Growth from adversity doesn't happen immediately. It often takes time to gain perspective, develop insights, and build new capabilities from challenging experiences. The most successful people understand that some of their greatest strengths took years to develop from their most difficult experiences. This is why maintaining hope and vision during difficult times is so important. You might not be able to see how current challenges will contribute to future success, but maintaining belief that they can and will helps you stay open to growth opportunities and learning possibilities that might not be immediately obvious. Another crucial element is choosing your response to pain rather than letting pain choose your response. You can become bitter or better, closed or open, fearful or courageous. The pain itself doesn't determine which direction you go. Your choices in response to pain determine your trajectory. Successful people also understand that turning pain into power doesn't mean eliminating all suffering or becoming invulnerable to future difficulties. It means building resilience, wisdom, and strength that help you navigate future challenges more effectively. Each difficult experience you transform successfully prepares you for future challenges and opportunities. The ultimate goal isn't to seek out painful experiences or be grateful for trauma. The goal is to waste nothing, to extract maximum value from whatever experiences life presents. Since difficult experiences are inevitable, you might as well become skilled at transforming them into sources of strength, wisdom, and purpose. Your pain can become your greatest teacher, your deepest source of empathy, your strongest motivation, and your most authentic message. but only if you choose to transform it rather than just endure it. The choice between being defined by your pain or powered by it is one of the most important decisions you'll ever make. Successful people make this choice consciously and repeatedly, turning their greatest challenges into their greatest advantages. Unshakable. Chapter 14. Stay humble, stay hungry. Success is not the finish line, it's the launch pad. The greats never stop pushing, questioning, and striving for more. The moment you think you've arrived is the moment you start declining. Success is seductive. It whispers that you've figured it out, that you can coast on past achievements, that you deserve to relax your standards. The most successful people understand this temptation and actively resist it. They know that maintaining success requires the same hunger that created it in the first place. Humility and hunger might seem contradictory, but they're actually complementary forces that drive sustainable success. Humility keeps you learning and growing. Hunger keeps you striving and achieving. Together, they create a powerful combination that prevents complacency while maintaining the drive for continuous improvement. Humility doesn't mean thinking less of yourself, it means thinking of yourself less. It's about staying curious rather than becoming convinced. It's about asking questions rather than just providing answers. It's about recognizing that no matter how much you've achieved, there's always more to learn, more to improve, and more to discover. The most successful people maintain what Zen Buddhism calls beginner's mind, an attitude of openness, eagerness, and lack of preconceptions when approaching any subject. Even in areas where they're experts, they remain open to new ideas, different approaches, and updated information. They understand that expertise can become a limitation if it closes you off to new learning. Jeff Bezos exemplifies this principle. Despite building one of the world's most valuable companies, he continues to approach business with curiosity and experimentation. Amazon continues to enter new markets, test new ideas, and challenge their own assumptions about what's possible. Bezos famously said that Amazon is always day one, maintaining the urgency and innovation of a startup despite its massive scale. Staying hungry means never being satisfied with current results. It means always asking what's next, and how can this be better? It means setting new challenges and goals before completing current ones. It's about competing with your past self rather than just competing with others. This doesn't mean being perpetually dissatisfied or never enjoying success. It means understanding that growth and progress are more fulfilling than achievement and arrival. The most successful people find joy in the journey of improvement rather than just the destination of accomplishment. One of the biggest threats to continued success is the success trap, when past achievements become excuses for present mediocrity. This happens when people start trading on their reputation rather than continuing to build it. They rely on what they've done rather than focusing on what they're doing now. The antidote to the success trap is maintaining high standards for yourself regardless of external recognition or past achievements. Your standards should come from within, not from comparison to others or satisfaction with previous results. The most successful people are their own toughest critics, always pushing themselves to perform at higher levels. This internal drive often appears as dissatisfaction to outside observers. People might wonder why someone who has made it continues to work so hard, take risks, or push for more. The answer is that truly successful people aren't driven by external validation or reaching a finish line. They're driven by the intrinsic satisfaction of growth and improvement. Staying humble requires actively seeking feedback and criticism rather than just accepting praise. Successful people surround themselves with people who will tell them the truth, even when it's uncomfortable. They ask difficult questions about their performance and genuinely want to hear about areas where they can improve. This feedback-seeking behavior serves multiple purposes. It provides valuable information for improvement. It demonstrates to others that you're committed to growth. It prevents you from developing blind spots that could limit your effectiveness. Most importantly, it keeps you connected to reality rather than getting lost in your own success story. The combination of humility and hunger also affects how you treat others. Humble people don't need to diminish others to feel important. Hungry people don't see others' success as threats to their own. Together, these qualities allow you to celebrate others' achievements while staying motivated to achieve your own goals. This abundance mindset creates better relationships and more opportunities. When people see that you're secure enough to celebrate their success and hungry enough to pursue your own, they're more likely to want to work with you, support you, and share opportunities with you. Staying hungry also means being willing to leave your comfort zone regularly. Success can create comfort, and comfort can create stagnation. The most successful people regularly take on challenges that stretch their capabilities and force them to grow. They volunteer for difficult assignments, enter new markets, or learn new skills even when they don't have to. This willingness to embrace discomfort maintains their growth trajectory and prevents them from becoming too attached to current success. They understand that the skills and strategies that got them to their current level might not be sufficient to reach the next level. Another aspect of staying humble and hungry is maintaining perspective on your place in the larger world. No matter how successful you become in your field, there are always other fields, other challenges, and other ways to contribute. The most successful people understand that their success is one piece of a much larger puzzle. This perspective prevents ego inflation and maintains motivation for continued contribution. When you understand that your success is an opportunity to serve others and make a larger impact, it becomes a launching pad for greater achievement rather than a destination for personal satisfaction. The practice of staying humble and hungry requires daily disciplines and regular reminders. This might involve reading about people who have achieved more than you have,